So in about 15 hours from now, the Rafales will finally touch down at Ambala. The country's most modern aircraft will touch down at the country's oldest airbase from the British Indian Air Force times. The country's focus, of course, Indian Air Force top focus is to operationalize these aircraft as quickly as possible and to deploy them wherever they may be required. So no grand festivities at this point of time, but Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Bhadoria, would be in Ambala to receive these aircraft. This is our top story. Manjeet Singh Negi is on ground zero and Abhishek Bhalla with this report. Indian Air Force Rafale jets being fueled mid-air by a French Air Force mid-air refueler as the first 5 of 36 Rafale fighter jets fly home to India from France. Air Chief Marshal R.K. Bhadoria, Chief of the Air Staff, will be flying to Ambala to ceremonially welcome the first 5 Rafales that will become a part of the 17th Squadron Golden Arrows. There is tremendous excitement in the Indian Air Force to welcome the latest and the most potent weapons platform in the inventory of the IAF.
The Rafale is a very modern aircraft. It's fully integrated. It is what is known as an omni-role aircraft, in the fact that it can do in the same mission multiple tasks simultaneously.
The Rafales with their Scalp, Meteor and soon to arrive Hammer missiles will be able to acquire and destroy multiple targets, both in air beyond visual range and on ground hundreds of kilometers away.
The aircraft is a powerful machine, and there were 10,000 crores or more given for modifications to make it the bigger brother of the Mirage 2000, which the Indian Air Force knows by heart. The FEB radar, slightly better, the Safran's Mechma engine, 30mm Giat gun, and it can fire the Scalp air-to-land missile.
In fact, after the S-400 missile defense shield is deployed, together with the Rafales, Mirages and the Su-30 MKIs, there will be a quantum leap in India's air power in the next couple of years. On the eve of the arrival of the Rafale jets, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh posted a video of his flight on board a Rafale jet in France. With Manjeet Singh Negi in Ambala, Bureau Report, India Today. For those who've been reporting this story and for those who've been waiting for this aircraft, it's practically a dream come true. The Indian Air Force wanted modern aircraft after the Kargil war. The Mirages had performed extremely well in precision bombing on the Tiger Hill in Mantod Halo, but the Indian Air Force had to wait really long to get new aircraft. And even till perhaps the aircraft, when the deal was done, it was touch and go. Shiv Arur now brings you all the twists and turns in the Rafale saga.
The Indian Rafales will soon be with the Indian Air Force on Indian soil. 5 jets are going to be part of the Indian Air Force on the 29th of July in Ambala. So many of you might be wondering, what's the big deal about this? So to understand that, we need to take you through a series of events, a few of which even shaped the electoral decision in the 2019 general elections. So now let's take you back to 2011, when the Indian Air Force first shortlisted the Rafale as a possible new addition to the Indian Air Force. Well, a year after that, in 2012, Dassault Aviation, which is the French company, comes with the lowest bid, making the Rafale the winner. So a deal was proposed for 126 jets, 18 out of which were to be bought off the shelf from France, and the remaining 108 were to be made by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, or HAL, in India. Now cut to March 2014, HAL and the French company Dassault agree on a work share agreement for those 108 aircraft. This deal stated that 70% of the work in the manufacture of the Rafale would be by HAL and the other 30% of the manufacture would be conducted by Dassault. Mind you, this is all in the final leg of UPA-2. Then comes May 2014 and the Modi Sarkar storms to power. Arun Jaitley, the then defense minister, revealed that the Rafale deal will be closed very soon and 18 jets will be delivered in 3 to 4 years. In January 2015, though, the Rafale deal runs into very rough weather. Manohar Parrikar, who had taken charge as the defense minister by that time, conceded in public that there were very serious roadblocks and problems in negotiating the price for the purchase of these French fighters.
HAL के मैनोवर्स और फ्रेंच कंपनी के मैनोवर्स उसमें एक तालमेल नहीं हो रहा था, वो इशू सॉल्व नहीं हो रहा था. आपको भी मालूम है 2012 में तो प्राइस डिस्कवरी हुई थी और अभी 15 में 3 बरस उसके ऊपर केवल नेगोशिएशन चल रहे थे.
The turning point, though, comes 4 months later when Prime Minister Modi steps into the picture. In his first visit to France, a lot of major developments.
आज हम भारत और फ्रांस की रक्षा साझेदारी को एक नए स्तर पर ले गए.
First of all, a new memorandum of understanding is made with Dassault Aviation, where 36 Rafales, not 126, 36 Rafale fighters are to be bought in a flyaway condition directly from France.
हम दोनों ने निर्णय किया है कि भारत के लिए यह अलग प्रक्रिया में दिए गए टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन से और अच्छे टर्म्स पर होगा.
Now, after a lot of to and fro and ironing out some of those details, in September 2016, it's finally in the bag, and India signs an $8.9 billion deal for Rafale fighter jet.
रक्षा सहयोग के संदर्भ में 36 राफेल लड़ाकू विमानों की खरीद को लेकर यह खुशी की बात है कि दोनों पक्षों के बीच शेष इंटर गवर्नमेंटल एग्रीमेंट संपन्न हो गया है.
Now, as part of the offsets that were supposed to come into this deal, which involved Dassault Aviation plowing back a part of the investment into India to source some of the parts and to create jobs within the country, one of the offset contracts, it was announced, would go to Anil Ambani's Reliance Defence.
It was a very good deal. But it was a very good deal for the Prime Minister and his businessman friend. They have taken away jobs from HAL, the youngsters of Karnataka.
Congress has been misinformed, misdirected, and misled on the Rafale deal.
Another big controversy erupted 2 years later in September 2018 when French President François Hollande revealed that he had no choice in selecting the Indian offsets partner. He was practically dictated to do so. Who knew this would set off the political narrative very familiar to all of us of the 2019 general elections? Remember this?
Reality is that the Prime Minister is corrupt.
Who decided to raise the price of the Rafale aircraft from 526 crores to 1600 crores?
चौकीदार जी ने चोरी करवाई. मतलब इससे साफ करप्शन का केस हो ही नहीं सकता.
Well, the opposition charge, led chiefly by Rahul Gandhi's very loud "Chaukidar Chor Hai" jibe at Prime Minister Modi, even reached the doorsteps of the Supreme Court, seeking details of the Rafale deal and even recommending a CBI investigation. Well, in the background of all of this, in October 2018, the first Indian Air Force Rafale jet took off in France to begin flight test. Meanwhile, back home in India, a special inquiry into the deal with Reliance was done, and the Supreme Court cleared that and said that there were no irregularities in the deal.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दो टूक शब्दों में कह दिया है ये कि ये बिल्कुल एक फेयर है डील जो हुई है.
You owe an apology to the country.
झूठ का सहारा लेने की एक नई राजनीति की शुरुआत थी.
With the politics tentatively over, now it was time for the optics. In June 2019, Vice Chief of Air Staff RKS Bhadoria flew in a Rafale in a landmark moment.
My experience was really excellent because I got to know the depth and intensity to which this exercise was planned and executed. And I'm very happy to say that both teams have done wonderfully well.
And a few months later, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh arrived in Bordeaux, France for the handover of the first Indian Rafale jets.
इंडियन फोर्सेस के लिए सचमुच यह एक ऐतिहासिक दिन है। मुझे बताया गया है कि रफाल एक फ्रेंच शब्द है जिसका हिंदी में अर्थ होता है आंधी।
Looking at it from every single angle, the Rafale jets provide an evolutionary leap to Indian Air Force pilots and combat planners. Now, these aircraft will be combat ready when they arrive, but there will be a lead time before they are declared operational for any kind of deployment. Comparing them to the other aircraft that the Indian Air Force flies, including the Su-30s, the Mirage 2000s and the MiG-29s, the Rafale is a huge legacy leap and is most welcome, especially at a time when India has operational issues in its northern sectors.
The question remains, if the Prime Minister was being blamed for the deal, will he now get credit for the aircraft finally arriving in India? All said and done, Rafale is set to take the country and the region by storm. There's breaking news that's coming in. China claims that at this point of time, disengagement is almost complete or complete in Galwan area, which is Petrol Point 14. China also claims disengagement has been completed at Petrol Point 15 and 17 Alpha, that's Hot Springs and Gogra area. Global Times quotes China's Foreign Office as saying that Pangong So remains, disengagement has still not taken place at Pangong So, but there's likely to be another round of talks between the core commanders of India and China for Pangong So. But the Chinese Foreign Office says they hope that India will meet them halfway. What does this mean? Let's listen into the Chinese Foreign Office. I'll quickly bring in India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on this. But let's listen in to the Chinese Foreign Office first.
Frontline border forces of the two countries have disengaged in most locations, and the current situation has continuously improved with eased tensions. At present, China and India are actively preparing for the fifth round of commander-level talks to handle and resolve the remaining problems on the ground.
Geeta, when China says they hope India will meet them halfway and they haven't disengaged between finger 4 and finger 8, though there is some thinning out of troops, we are told, what do the Chinese mean, and is India still firm that we want China to go beyond finger 8?
Well, certainly, Gaurav, the kind of decisions and moves being made by India is hurting China. And we are seeing China, at least when it comes to the kind of statements that they've made in the past, stepping down a little and making some reconciliatory statements, hitting some reconciliatory notes. Having said that, when it comes to the situation on the ground, sources do say that nothing has changed. Not much has changed on the ground. So when China claims that there has been complete disengagement, it seems like for now they are again indulging in untruths and half-truths. This certainly is not the truth. But when it comes to asking India to meet China halfway, India is very clear that the halfway mark is at finger 8, and China will have to push back to finger 8 and respect the line of actual control and the perception of the line of actual control and the perception of patrolling points, as was followed by both the countries for years. Unless and until that happens, India will continue to mount pressure on China and continue with its policies with regards to the economic and the strategic hits when it comes to the digital economy per se.
That's a very important point you're making. So this is the country's comprehensive national power at play, because the army is very clear. China has to go beyond finger 8, and the April 2020 situation needs to be restored at the line of actual control, and the army is deployed for the long haul. Remember, this is a battle-hardened army that does extremely well in extreme high-altitude areas. The comprehensive national power of the country. So India has banned more Chinese apps. Clones of Chinese apps have also been banned, but this has led to an intense political fight between the Congress and the BJP, with senior Congress leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi saying, why is the government not banning PUBG? Is it because the government fears that children or youth will then ask for jobs? And the BJP hits back, saying that the Congress is indulging in politics over national security.
The eastern Ladakh standoff is still to be resolved, but India has moved swiftly to squeeze China on other fronts. After cutting off Chinese firms from government deals, it's Chinese apps that are once again on target. After banning 59 Chinese apps a few weeks ago, including TikTok, the Modi government has banned another 47 Chinese apps.
हम लोगों ने 59 ऐप को बैन किया है। कानूनी कार्रवाई होगी उसकी। भारत की जनता के डेटा की सुरक्षा पर कोई हम समझौता नहीं करेंगे।
The government is now reportedly planning to ban some other apps, including the popular online game PUBG. But the opposition isn't impressed. Congress MP and senior leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi in a tweet said Modi wanted to ban PUBG, but realized that if Indian youth don't have distractions of the fantasy world, they would raise real issues like jobs and employment.
The priorities before the governments at the moment should have been economic revival. They should be cracking after it. They should do everything to revive jobs. It's really sad that an image-conscious Prime Minister and his government is acting like ostriches.
The BJP has hit back at the Congress, saying that the party has a very shallow view and no care for national security.
It is quite disappointing because he is one of the senior members of the Congress party, and if his understanding of issues of national security is so shallow, then I wonder what is it with Rahul Gandhi. Mr. Singhvi has not understood it. He must perhaps use his privilege as a parliamentarian to get himself updated on the reasons why the government has taken such decisions.
The Congress has been relentlessly questioning the Modi government's guarded policies on China after the Eastern Ladakh standoff began. The barb on why PUBG has not yet been banned comes amidst this war of words.
Modi government's policy is clear: to hit China where it hurts them the most. But Congress party is growing extremely critical as this strategy has not yielded much result in the border standoff. Although indications are that the centre will go ahead with the crackdown, ignoring all opposition. With camera person Sanjay Chaudhary, this is Anand Patel in New Delhi for India Today.
2 days ago, China put out a video claiming that it had successfully launched the world's largest amphibious aircraft, the AG-600. But is that actually true? Take a look at the video that Chinese government put out, and when you see that video, you'll see a lot of glaring edits in that video. So was that actually a very successful launch, or is China once again resorting to half-truths and absolute lies?
China's military establishment has been known to flaunt its capabilities. The psychological operations have been in an overdrive amidst the Ladakh standoff. But as India readies to receive its newest combat-ready fighters, the Rafales, China has tried to claim a successful testing of the world's largest amphibious aircraft made in China. The video of the maiden flight at East China's Shandong was tweeted by China's official mouthpiece, the People's Daily. But the video appears riddled with inconsistencies. At 0.01 seconds, the plane is next to the Qingdao cruise terminal, which is seen, but the frame suddenly shifts to a different location the very next second. Well, that's not all. Look carefully. A helicopter appears suddenly at 0.03 seconds and disappears within a second. The helicopter reappears after 4 seconds then.
Geolocations of the video clearly shows that the run started at Qingdao's cruise terminal and the aircraft took off near the Naval Aviation Base, which is 4,500 meters away. Thus, it shows that even in plain sea, it took 4,500 meters of run for the aircraft to take off.
All this apparent trickery makes us conclude that the maiden flight of China's largest amphibious aircraft, the AG-600, was probably not as much of a success as the Chinese government will have the world believe. With Vinayak Bhatt, Bureau Report, India Today.
The big story remains 15 hours from now. The Rafales will touch down at Ambala Air Base and we'll be reporting. We'll get to the latest on that big exciting story, but that is all I have for you on this special broadcast. Many thanks for watching.